Hey y'all, it's me Tiffany and welcome back to my channel. So this is the first dedicated review that I'm doing here. I do occasionally do like summaries with multiple books, with reviews, thoughts, whatever. But it's the first time I'm doing one that's dedicated to one series, and it's a manga series called Shortcake. So it's 12 volumes, which I really think it's like 11 and a half, but is numbered as 12. And this centers around a girl named Ten, and she takes a 2-hour commute from her house in a remote, like, country, mountainy area to her school. And she sneaks into her friend's boarding house because they're not supposed to have outsiders or guests sneaking in and staying there. And meets the people in the boarding house and really enjoys it, talks her parents into letting her stay there. And she does. And the first volume basically starts off with a boy named Riku, and a boy named Chikaki. And there's like a little love triangle that forms. And it's very like simple, straight to the point. But they do take their time to develop their feelings and but they do express some kind of interest, but some of the interest is like, yeah, I have interest, but I'm not fully sure. And, that kind of thing, instead of just being like straight, I'm in love. So there was part of the story with a dude named Ray. He kind of just shows up while they're at a temple, and he professes his interest in Ten as well. It turns out that Ray is actually Riku's brother. And he's basically just doing this to mess with Riku because there's like family issues, drama, tension, and all of these little things. Basically, whether it's shoujo or a normal novel, TV, whatever, there's got to be like extra drama. So he just kind of shows up. And honestly, I think going through this way to like trying to ruin Riku's life seems just kind of unnecessary. Like, I know there's got to be some family drama and stuff, and I don't hate Ray as a whole. I just thought this part was silly, especially since Ten's just like, okay, you're weird, because he just kind of goes up and bites his brother. It's really strange. But there's like a lot of little comedic stuff. Like, they take a beach trip, all three of them that are in the love triangle. And, she gets kind of yeeted into the water. And, like, the comedy's kind of nice. Like, it actually feels like it fits in. It may not sound like that, me expressing it. But it does fit. It's kind of quirky. And it takes till volume 8 for Tan to decide who she's going to be with. Because she originally rejects Riku, but then regrets putting him in the friend zone. And she expresses it. And I like the fact that they're all pretty honest about how they're feeling and their thoughts at that time, even if it is kind of back and forth. They're all very straightforward people, and the story itself is straightforward, so that goes together very well. And at one point, it does go more into Ray and Riku, and the focus kind of shifts, which is interesting, which I don't know if this is a common thing in these kind of romances where everybody wants one girl and stuff. I haven't actually read anything like this, and I don't usually watch these kind of animes. I do occasionally enjoy visual novels, but I'll get into that in a minute. Turns out Ray and Riku aren't blood brothers, and part of the family conflict between the two, which apparently their parents own the boarding house, and Ray is so bad that Riku lives in the boarding house instead of living at home. He confronts his mother, and eventually Ray realizes how petty he's kind of being, and they work things out. And yeah, it's an interesting little, I didn't expect that, but like I said, I'm not super into this genre. But I wanted something different. The artwork's cute, so I took an interest and I took a chance with it. I'm not going to say the actual ending because I think that should be experienced on its own, but I do think the ending was satisfying. Okay, so we basically have the gist of the story. So, how do I feel about it besides the ending being satisfying? So, the final one, when I said 11 and a half, this volume, most of it's just like half of it's like the actual story, and the other half's like bonus chapters. And I kind of wish the whole thing was based on the actual story instead of bonus chapters. I have read other mangas that do this similar of a thing. Because, like, this story is very straightforward, as I said earlier. Like, there's not a lot of side plot and a lot of other things going on. So you basically are not confused, which is great, right? But there are some issues, like the other people, like in the boarding house, that aren't in the love triangle or Riku's brother. They get thrown, even like the friend that got her into the boarding house, are thrown so far into the background. Like, even after reading 12 volumes, and I read these rather quickly. I think I read these within 2 months or less. Like, I think it was about 2 months. I don't remember their names. I don't remember, like, the importance of them. There is, like, a scene with the friend that brought her into the house, like, because it was her birthday. But it ends up being about the love interest, which I know super romance-heavy books and stuff do focus usually more on the romance than anything else, but it would have been nice to know more about the other characters that they live with, because there could be issues, you know, with the romance being like in the boarding house, which they do mention within like the one of the first 2 volumes, that somebody got with somebody else, so they had to go and transfer boarding houses, because there are rules. Even though you're paying to live there, like, boys and girls are not supposed to be in the same room, except for, like, one boy can go into the girl's room if he's tutoring them. But outside of that, you know, there are strict rules with that, which makes sense because these are high schoolers and parents are trusting them, blah, 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 right? And one of my gripes is I thought the way they got to the ending, there was a decision made that seemed kind of pointless and just needed for drama. But almost every romance has, like, a back and forth event, and I think that's kind of like, that's not like my favorite type of trope. I do read other romances, but I like romances that have more going on usually. Like, outside of like this, you know, I just kind of, even like with, you know, Sailor Moon has a romance, but it's not like the central focus, but it is a big focus. And I'm like that with most novels and stuff too. But I'm actually surprised I enjoyed this as much as I did. I liked to read volumes because they're all really short. And I kind of like them as like little fluff pieces or like palette cleansers. Because there's not a lot of dialogue in this. Like, it's very show more than telling, which can be a great thing. But, you know, there's just not a lot of dialogue. And the artwork is really cute as well. It actually, like, the artwork reminds me of more, like, older mangas, even though I believe the first volume came out, like, 2016 or 2017. I could be totally wrong. I could be wrong. But it did come out recently, but it gives me, like, an old school vibe. Not super old school, because they're, you know, it's modern enough where it looks, like, cleaner than old stuff, but it has like an older school feel. Like, I didn't read as much manga as a child. I did like read some as teenagers and stuff, but I was limited, you know, because of money, and my library didn't carry a ton of stuff. But like when I would go into Books A Million, it kind of gives me like the classic anime look, and it's cute. I'm thankful that this isn't as toxic as I was afraid it was going to be. And as I mentioned with visual novels, I've played like, I guess about 10 to 15 visual novels in my lifetime, because I get obsessive with them and have to get like every ending and see them instead of just getting my ending and watching them on YouTube. And a lot of them have been rather toxic, and I'm glad this wasn't. Most people have kept a rather level head, and I appreciate that so much. That's one thing that I hate with most romances in general is not say, you know, I said this is a lot more like realistic and calmer than a lot of stuff that I've read, even in stuff that's not like heavily romance centered. You know, there wasn't like screaming, cussing, being possessive. Like, even as she's trying to navigate between the two dudes, yeah, they had some competition, but they didn't let that affect their home lives. They didn't try to hurt each other. They didn't slur at each other. They didn't mudsling. None of that stuff. Like, they were actually like pretty chill about it. Like, they obviously mentioned, hey, this is awkward. And there was even one part that one of the boys says, hey, if it works out between you two, I do want both of you happy, but I'm not going to be happy about the decision, but I want you happy more. Things like that. I appreciate it so much, and I think that what really got me into this, because I just don't like when there's fighting or breaking up and getting back together 15,000 times, you know. I don't like that stuff, and this did not have that in there, and I appreciate it so much. It is finished, and there's, at the moment of me recording this, unfortunately, there's no anime for it. But I really think you should pick this up. It's a very quick read, even if you read rather slowly, because it's not dialogue heavy. And, you know, there's plenty of pages that are kind of like this. So, not all of them. It's not so much where it's annoying, but, you know, it is a quick read. I recommend it. So, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time.